And we're live, so welcome everybody to the Week 4 Red Dirt Sports Fantasy Football Awards. I'm the OU flag guy, and we're going to be just chit-chatting a little bit before my co-host Justin hops on. He's had a late dinner, so I'm going to occupy y'all's time for a little bit. I hope y'all had a good week so far. I've had a good week over the weekend, got to play in the Halo Infinite beta. It's interesting. I'm very intrigued by where the direction they're going with it. I love the grapple hook. Absolutely am unsure about having a 3-shot shotgun again like in Halo 1. But I did have some funny moments with Frank. We got a couple games in at the very end. And lesson learned, always take your driver's test before you actually play Capture the Flag. For those of you who know, you know. Long story short, I fell off the map when we could have scored a very, very early lead and Capture the Flag. It was just funny. It's just like, so why, Trope? Why? Well, is this a bad time to say, like, this is the first time I've actually driven a Warthog? So it was a fun time. Had my hopes and dreams completely crushed by Sora's reveal on Kingdom Hearts. I know this is a football one, but like I said, we're going to be talking everything until Justin hops on. And besides that, looking forward to OU Texas this weekend. Kayla and I will be going to OU Texas this weekend. We're going to be in the nosebleed sections of the Cotton Bowl, so it's going to be nice to be able to return to OU Texas, though. It's been about, I want to say 10 years since the last time I've been there. From it, it's just due to work, prior obligations, or just the cost of the ticket itself. We were lucky this year because Dad was able to, he won the OU Texas lottery, because for those of y'all that don't know that, or guests just watching this, or y'all aren't OU fans for it, because I don't know who's going to be watching these in the future. With OU Texas, it's not included in your season ticket package, so you have to pay extra for it. But because so many people desire those particular tickets, they put the season ticket holders in a raffle, essentially. And I think the reason Dad won it this year is because he did not claim his season tickets last year. For it because of COVID. I think he was given priority. I don't know. That's speculation on that. However, that's my reasoning for it. However, I will be going to OU Texas this weekend. It's going to be a hot one, too. I've already been since Monday hydrating, getting ready for that game, because unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be like 90 to 100 degrees. I'm not all for that lifestyle. Nope. I already did that with Nebraska. So I'm already prepping, hydrating, and everything, getting ready for that game. And it's going to be a good one. Texas is walking in with just one loss. Oklahoma's undefeated. I think both sides of the ball, they're going to be pretty. It's going to be like a slobber knocker, is like what I like to call them. There's going to be a lot of battering. Whoever's going to run the ball better is going to win. That's the big thing for it. I know. I really hope we win for the sole fact of, outside of bragging rights, of course. Outside of bragging rights for it, I want to be able to stay in the fair and try all the fried foods. You can only do so much before game, because you don't want to, especially with the heat, puke it up or anything like that with it, this late October heat. That being said with it, if you win, you get to enjoy being in the fair. If you lose, you go home. And my tradition usually is sticking around the fair on the way back, get a nice big juicy steak, probably from. It used to be when I went with my parents years ago when I was a small child, steak and ale. I know I'm really reaching for some of y'all right now, and then later on it was always Texas Roadhouse north of Denton at this point. If you win, winners only get steak, or a steak only goes to the winners. If you lose, good luck even getting cold McDonald's, because that's where you're just like grumpy and you just want to drive home. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the game. I think my co-host has joined in. What's up, buddy?
Hold up.
Okay. Whoa! How are you, buddy?
Everything's everything. What's going on with you?
Oh, I'm good. I was able to do my walk today. Got a nice nap in before this, and I was mentioning on the live stream before, as over the weekend I was playing some Halo Infinite. Had my dreams crushed and thrown away with Sora's reveal in Smash Brothers, and I'm going to OU Texas this weekend. So my dad won the OU Texas lottery to be able to purchase tickets for it, so I will be at this game this weekend. It's going to be a hot one.
Wait, what? What's this weekend? OU what?
OU Texas.
Oh, Red River?
Yeah, Red River shootout, Red River rivalry, Red River, whatever they want to call it at this point. I just know it's the best rivalry game in the SEC. They're going to argue that in 2 years, but it's true. This game has been decided by less than a touchdown every single, the past 5-6 years. And I expect it to be less than a touchdown again this weekend. But I was mentioning before you hopped on those, I really hope that we win. Not just for the bragging rights, but because I want to be able to try all the fried food there. Because I don't really eat too much prior to the game because it is fried food. And it's supposed to be 100 degrees on Saturday. So it's afterwards, I can try whatever the hell I want and not worry about getting sick or anything from. Because they got some good stuff. They have some fried peaches that they had. They had there's the big award winner this year was the fried seafood gumbo balls. And I'm I want to try that, but I know not to eat seafood before a football game. That's an after football game food. It just looks good, and plus all the deep fried everything from deep fried Twinkies, the funnel cake to deep fried Coke. I can't wait. Deep fried Snickers.
I'm just getting heartburn thinking about all that.
Oh, absolutely! I told my coworkers already that Monday I'm going to be sweating grease at this point because of how much fried foods I'm going to have, but it will be worth it. It will be worth it. So, how has your week gone, Justin? Okay.
Yeah, I got back from Portland late Monday, so I was back at work yesterday.
Yeah, how was your trip to Portland?
It was pretty good. My mom was just glad to have all 50 states done at this point. It was just a big emotional lift off her shoulder. You know
yeah, I mean? She, if I recall, if you told it to me correctly, she was doing a marathon in each of the states, correct?
Half marathon, but yes.
Yeah. Well, was Oregon just one of those she just could not get out there for that one?
Well, yeah, because she'd been down to one since for 2 years ago. It was around when my stepfather started getting super sick. Then he died, and then everything was shut down.
Yeah. So, there we go. So, but still, she got it completed. So that's so impressive too. Of doing Alaska and Hawaii, and depending on where you're at, getting up to those northeast or northwest states like Maine and all that too. What was her favorite one?
I had to ask for that, but I think she mentioned that she really liked I think she said she did
a little bit better.
The South Dakota one, though. She actually got to do a race where she got to go by the Mount Rushmore.
Oh, this up in South Dakota.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been a fun one. That's a nice little area up there too. I was there on a road trip a couple years ago, and on our way back we made sure to stop in South Dakota since it was going to be we road tripped up to Seattle, so it was a 30-hour trip, and we still had 20 hours to go. We're we might as well go this way with it. We're going to go the wrong way around because it was a 30-minute difference going back down Oregon, Salt Lake City area, and Colorado, so we went the other way.
Well, time out. You did a road trip to Seattle from Oklahoma?
Yeah, it was fun.
Do you at least have an RV or something?
No, we took a car.
Jesus Christ.
we just exchanged riders at that point. So it was, I would drive about 4 hours, then my roommate would have driven about 4 hours, and then we just switched off, and we just made sure we got a lot of it done the first day, and then we would do pit stops, little national parks or sites, historical sites on the way with it to try to break it up with it. It wasn't bad. It's not bad. The only boring really drive is South Idaho. That's really near Boise and Craters of the Moon because there's just nothing there. It's just when you think of dirt that where I grew up in Southwest Oklahoma, yeah, that's about right. So yeah, that was because what we did was we went up that way and then went east back down. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. It's nice to go on road trips. I try to do one once a year with it, but when I saw you, that was my once a year. So. And it was worth it. I got a hug from you, and I got to eat good food. It was worth it. Absolutely worth it.
Glad you enjoyed yourself.
Hey, we both enjoyed ourselves because we both got to see each other hang out. So, and we got food. That's what is also matters, is food. So, well, Justin, let's talk about college football for a moment.
Okay.
Texas A&M. Oh my goodness, Texas A&M. I had a friend tell me that Jimbo Fisher got away with murder with getting a no buyout contract because, man, I bet they're having buyer's remorse right now.
Yeah, I was just asking my coworker coworker the other day who was actually an Alabama fan, and another coworker that's a Mississippi State fan, and I say, are we all in agreement that Texas A&M was overrated as hell?
Absolutely, they had an injured quarterback going in. They were going to get blown out. But they thought they were a playoff team during a COVID year. Yeah, you can put an asterisk maybe. I don't think that's going to change Bama winning it last year. But that all said, though, like they thought they were going to be like this top 4 team. No, they had about 5 losses coming on their schedule, and they're already out. I think 2. They already started what I like to call the October roller coaster, where they reach like the 1st of October, and then all those expectations start sliding downhill really fast. That's exactly what it is with Texas A&M. But there was good games though last week. I was trying to see bringing it up see if I don't know if I can share the right one with it. But regardless of it, last week was an interesting one. I'm trying to see. I hate when I'm looking at, you know what, I bet it is. I bet it's because since it's in the new week, it doesn't actually let you show the picks from the last one unless it was there we go. There we go. I'll bring it up. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to move this over. Let's do a share screen. I'll share that screen first. Just to talk about last week college football. I think it is this one, Justin. Here it is. All right, as you can see, there's some pretty good games last week. I mean, and I had some hard decisions of trying to pick which games and everything, for Texas and TCU, Georgia and Arkansas. Who was seeing Georgia blanking Arkansas?
Yeah, seriously, who saw that coming?
Nobody. I thought Arkansas had a much better defense than that. I think it's an agreement at this point that Alabama and Georgia are the best teams right now. Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah, compared to like you said, compared to Alabama and Georgia, it seems like everybody else in the SEC is completely outclassed.
Yeah, even us, it's okay, who else wants to be in the playoff this year at this point? Because there's just nobody else who's even on their level, and that's with all due respect. It's just the stars have aligned for both of those schools, and they're on a collision course to face each other in the SEC title game at this point.
There was one team I didn't get to watch a whole lot because, like I said, with Portland, we're doing a bunch of stuff going on. But I did. One team did impress me in one of the games I watched was Cincinnati. They really impressed me.
Yeah, Cincinnati against Notre Dame. I actually was proud of myself for picking Cincinnati over Notre Dame. I think that Notre Dame's been a friend of mine said he calls it dancing with the devil, essentially, because at some point it's about to bite you in the butt. I'm like, it's this week. Cincinnati is just better. And they did. They showed up against Notre Dame. I kept going back and forth for the sole fact that it was in South Bend. I'm like, nope. I have a feeling this is Cincinnati. So that was a good game, too. Scrolling back down, we beat Kansas State. Alabama versus Mississippi. Nobody should be surprised by that result. On it, I know the score looks like even a little bit closer than it was, but Alabama dominated from the moment they said go. It was just a complete.
And I watched a little bit of I saw the end of Stanford and Oregon. If I was I even tweeted the other day, it's I'm in Oregon and Oregon lost, and I'm in the state of Oregon. Well, this is awkward.
Awkward. See, I always feel like it's a triangle where it's Stanford will beat Oregon, Oregon beats USC, USC beats Stanford. It's always the triangle that it's always the same thing. And I went against my gut and I said, you know what? I'm going to go Stanford on this, but nope. Go Oregon. I think they're going to break the curse this year. And nope, I was completely wrong.
Now you mention that. That is sometimes up in a weird trifecta going on. Even when one of the teams isn't very good, it still happens.
Yeah, it's like OU Texas or Florida Georgia, where it's just you can throw the scores out at that point. It will come down to they'll play to the bitter end. Another one that was impressive was Florida and Kentucky. Kentucky beating Florida. I did not see that coming, and it makes you think: has Dan Mullins peaked at Florida at this point?
He might have, because he might have. His juju from wherever he got that job being the last coach at Mississippi State. I think that juju's run out at this point. Yeah,
and you have to wonder it too. Was last year his best unit and stuff as well? I don't know on that one, but another one that was sneaky good. And I picked against them every single week, thinking they were going to be upset that their defense is not that good and their offense is very unimpressive, is Oklahoma State versus Baylor. Oklahoma State beat Baylor pretty solidly with a solid, their best outing all year. And I think they're number 12 now. They're starting to be a sneaky good team that I think a lot of people aren't looking at because they're focused on us and waiting for us to lose.
I was including you Sooner fans.
Oh, absolutely. Like, we never have a fear playing against Oklahoma State because it seems like it's the same show. It's a rerun every year. All right, it's going to be the same thing. When Bedlam happens, there's going to be some smack talk, mostly from Oklahoma State. We play the game. It's going to be exciting, and OU's going to win because that's usually what it is. There's a reason why it's like 86-17. Like, it's the most lopsided rivalry in the state on it. I've made the joke that Oklahoma State's true rival is Tulsa because it's much more equal. Looking at the rest of the ones too with this though. Oh, but on Oklahoma State as well, I feel like that's going to be a top 10 matchup coming up, and it's played in Stillwater. It's going to be interesting to see which team of those will succeed. I went against my gut. I was going to go against Boston College, but I went with the home team with Clemson. I know they won, but man, Clemson just has no offense this year.
I was saving the crap out of Kansas, so that's not a big shock because Brock Purdy.
Oh, yeah. Brock, I'm not surprised that they blew Kansas out of the water. I'm actually thinking about going to that away game because Justin actually figured out what my Christmas cards are going to be this year for my inserts and everything. This year, I'll do like a generic, like, this is celebrating the year, and then I'll do something themed. It's going to be Sooner themed this year. It's going to be the Sooners Farewell Tour Part 1. And show all the teams that we're leaving from the Big 12 and joining the SEC with. So it's going to be a fun one. So I think I'm going to have OU Nebraska. I'm going to OU Texas this weekend. I'm leaning for Kansas, and then I may even go travel Baylor. But the one I really want to go to it's just expensive, and I'd have to commit to it. It's Bedlam, because since it is at Bedlam, if it's a top 10 matchup, that's going to be like a $300-$400 ticket, and I don't know if I want to shell out for that. I don't know. So, but
dude, did you see? Dude, this LSU Auburn game? Did you see a lot of the bullshit that Bo Nix was putting out?
No, I didn't. I was going to ask you about that though, because I thought LSU was going to win, but then when the delay happened, I was like,
Yes.
What did Bo Nix say?
Well, it's not that he said anything. He just made like this one touchdown catch, whatever, down 13-0. He threw a touchdown. Like, he was running around for like 5 seconds. Went toward the sideline, looked like about to get sacked. He pretty much did like a jab step throw to the end zone. And he found a wide open tight end for a touchdown. I was like, what did I just watch?
A pillow fight. That's what you watch from it. Because, man, I was always like, this year's like LSU, man, they are not good at all. But oh my goodness. Auburn's going to be one of those two. I think they're going to get into like a New Year's Six Bowl, but it's going to be like, oh, we have to take a team. All right, we're taking Auburn. The other game, too, was Fresno and Hawaii. I am surprised that Hawaii beat Fresno. I don't think Hawaii's that good of a team. But then again, when I was doing my picks, I was like, I have a sneaky feeling this is going to be much closer than what the spread was. I think the spread was like 10.5. It was ridiculous. It was pretty high, and they beat them. I am surprised.
Wasn't Fresno State that team that like came from behind to be like UCLA with a quarterback that quarterback had like an injury?
Yeah, he came back from behind and literally was like in a wheelchair. Essentially, it's like, all right, I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna throw footballs. Just don't get to me. Don't hurt me anymore, guys. Like, yeah. I'm surprised. And that's maybe what it was. I don't know. But last week had some very, very exciting games. That. It was a sneaky surprise good week in college football. If I can, I'm going to move over to now.
Well, thank God for that because the NFL this past week was pretty dull.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing how like something can be like so. It makes me think of high school football and sometimes college, where it's like high school always has like the exciting because it's all amateur with it. You're gonna have the 4'5" guy who's a freshman on the high school team with it, and it be the more exciting game versus sometimes the college one where it's just like business as usual. NFL business as usual. We'll get to it, but the more exciting thing was Urban Meyer and his in Florida. That was the most exciting thing, but we'll get to that. I'm gonna finish up the college one with it, but. What I'm going to do, let's go back to sharing this screen. I was going to show the game. So, here we go. So, if you take a look at it, there was some pretty even distribution. Some people had some faith in Wisconsin, but Michigan rolled. Everyone except me and Patrick and Kayla picked Cincinnati, which I am proud of. We knew. When you know, you know. I'm disappointed in my pick against West Virginia, though. I thought West Virginia's defense was going to actually do something, and no, they lost to Texas Tech. I'm really surprised on that. But at the end of the day, I may start picking against West Virginia this year because West Virginia, they just don't have an offense. They can't score over 20 points. And at some point, a buddy of mine said it on my OU one, is that dam's going to burst. And I think we saw that this week, in that the defense can only carry the offense so much. They got to figure something out. Everybody was surprised on Oregon. I'm not surprised on it. And then this is where all the games start to like kind of go each way. Everybody was surprised by Florida.
So much red on this.
Huh?
So much red.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just like, it's the surprise games that nobody called. I messed up. Everybody went with Oklahoma State while I went with Baylor. It was the flip on this one where it's like, dang, I should have went with Oklahoma State. Texas A&M, everybody thought that. And yeah, LSU, UCLA, and Fresno. Like, I'm not surprised at the little 1-2 games, but as you can see, we had a lot of people tie for first place this week, and then second, third place, and then Kari completely forgot her picks, but that is okay. We get 2 weeks where you get dropped. You get 2 weeks where you don't have the score count against you, but she has to be perfect pretty much here on out to have a chance. She's not. I don't think she's last, but she's got to be perfect at this point. So let's take a quick look at games coming up. Going back to the share screen, next week in college. There's some good ones. So, obviously, OU Texas, Cotton Bowl, throw the records out. That's going to be a big one. A sneaky good one, Mississippi and Arkansas. I'm leaning towards Mississippi, but I will tell you, this was a pick that I kept going back and forth on because I'm like, they both have decent defenses. They both have decent offenses. Their depth charts are their depth is really, really, really good. FPI is really close. Man, only reason I went with Mississippi, it's going to be Lane Kiffin and it being the home game.
I'm just looking at this. Oh, really? They made you guys 11 o'clock game again? Really?
Oh, that's tradition with OU Texas. So with OU Texas, if OU and Texas are good, they get the 2:30 kick. Otherwise, it's tradition to have the 11 a.m. kick because it's considered, since it's the Red River shootout from before high noon. That's the only reason why. And they will never have it as a night game. State Fairgrounds is a little sketchy at night. Like the players want it at 8 o'clock, but everyone it's on the bad side. I think it's like the southeast side of Dallas. I'm trying to remember where State Fairground is because I usually just drive there. I don't actually think where it's at. But it's enough where when the players brought it up a couple years ago of, hey, we want to do a night game, it was both sides. The ADs from Texas and OU both said, no, not happening, guys. You will get alternative jerseys before it's a night game at the Cotton Bowl with it. It's just not that good of an area with it. And I can vouch at least a little bit in the sense of when I went down there for the Pokemon Symphony, it wasn't like the safest place. There was like chains and gates and everything like that for it. When it's during the day, it's fine, but once you get past about 6 o'clock, that's when stuff changes on it. So I would love it to be a night game, but it ain't happening unless it moves to Jerry World, and they're not going to move that to Jerry World. Let's see, BYU and Boise State. That's also a good one because BYU has the younger team, but they're the higher-ranked team.
It's going to be on the blue field. Okay.
It's going to be no, it's going to be in Provo. It's at BYU.
Oh, at BYU. Okay, never mind. Oh, okay. And actually, Shady says BYU is almost like a lesser version of like the Whiteouts at Penn State. It still gets pretty crazy. It gets still pretty crazy at BYU, but every time I went to Penn State home game, it's just like an endless sea of white.
Yeah. Well, that's why ESPN always wants to do the whiteout games with Penn State because it's just it's one of those things they just want to get. So the big one though. Speaking of Penn State, Justin.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Funny story. So if you see there, it's number 3 versus number 4. College Game Day is going to OU Texas, and a lot of people are pissed off about that. There's a reason though for that. Based on what I was told, Hurt Street and Fowler are calling the game. Fowler has not called an OU Texas game, and this is probably one of the most I'm not going to say anticipated games, but it's going to be one of those most complete you're going to get from both teams in quite some time over there. And my other suspicion too is Lee Corso's getting on in years at this point. I think this is his last OU Texas. I think he wants to be down there for that one with it because I think Lee's in his late 80s, early 90s. He's pretty old, and with all due respect to Lee Corso, I think he wants to go to that game. I think this was a Lee Corso decision. Now, that being said, the other half of it, too, is, as far as I'm aware, too, Iowa and Penn State is a Fox game, and they'll go on site. I mean, they just did it this year for Wisconsin and Penn State. Or it is Wisconsin, Penn State, or Wisconsin, Notre Dame. But they're usually going to stick to their own sites with it. And these games are decided, like, almost 2 weeks in advance. Like, there's some wiggle room with, like, being able to pick a different site. But, like, if it's too far, like Penn State, Iowa versus, you still got to drive the trucks and everything. No, they're going to stick with what their original plan was. That's what I think. Now, that being said, this one's going to be a good matchup. And I think Iowa's going to do it. I think Iowa's going to firmly beat Penn State, and they're going to be in the runnings for the Big Ten championship.
You know, I had no idea that I haven't looked at the rankings in a while. I had no idea I was number 3 now.
Yeah, Iowa's been sneaky good, man. Let me bring up their let me stop the share screen really fast on this particular one. Let me bring up their schedule really fast. They have
I know they beat Iowa State. I know they beat Iowa State at least.
Yeah, they beat Iowa State, but like, unlike a couple years ago where they were, to me, I always said they were posers when they were like making their run for the playoff and then they got annihilated. I said, no, like, this is not a good Iowa team. It was the Big Ten was really bad. This year, this is a different Iowa Hawkeyes team. This is a good team. And they've beaten some pretty credible people. Let me bring up the share screen now. Show it to you. Gosh, I love talking football. It's nice to have football. Here we go. They beat Indiana they did beat it at Indiana, but they beat Indiana, and they beat Iowa State, and they beat a pretty good Maryland. Maryland's not bad this year, and this is the rest of their schedule. It is very doable. If they can get past Penn State, they have a good shot of playing in the Big Ten championship game, because if you take a look at it, who else is on their schedule at this point? Maybe Wisconsin?
Maybe.
It won't be Minnesota. Their players, but a lot of their teams injured. The rest of those teams aren't that good. Iowa has a good chance to make it. Now, and that's the flip side of it. You have to look at the other side, too, is I'm going to go the long route on this one. I think it's going to be Penn State. I believe. There we go. Let's look at Ohio State. They have to play Penn State in 3 weeks. They have to play Michigan still. And Michigan's not bad this year. Michigan actually is ranked. They're ranked in the top 10. And they have Michigan State. I think they're on a collision course for each other at the Big Ten championship. I just see it coming. I would put Ohio State before Michigan. I'll put it that way.
I can see it.
Michigan's good, though. Michigan also, it is much tougher in the Big Ten West than it is in the East. I think it's the East where they're playing with it. I don't know, but off top of my head with it, because I don't pay attention enough to for that. But yeah, I'm sorry, East. Big Ten East, Iowa can manage the Big Ten West. It's going to be big. I think that. Now, the question is, who's going to be better? I think it's Iowa. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I would have to see.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good one. And I think the last one I had circled for next week. A game, if you want to watch a steamroller and a buzzsaw happen, Alabama versus Texas A&M, you know they're going to throw points this week. Absolutely going to throw 50 points on A&M. Yeah, that's going to be Alabama. A&M is about to have a coming to Jesus moment. It ain't going to be this game either. There was another sneaky game on here, but that's kind of this week. There's some good games this week with it. And the good part is Iowa, everyone's going to be going back and forth between Iowa and Penn State and OU Texas, because it's 2 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. For OU Texas. OU Texas may be wrapping up or getting just right into Iowa Penn State. There's a good game. It's going to be good. So I am going to now share the rankings for our Pick'em group. I think it's this third one, and show where everyone's standing, and then we'll move right on to the NFL, because we got NFL stuff to talk about. Justin, I think it is this one. I think. Nope, it is not that one. I'm going to move it up then. 1 second. Share. I'm still learning the share screen stuff, especially when it's like, I think I know where it's at. There we go. So here's the current standings right now for our college football pick'em group. Gavin right now is number 1 in the league with 67 points. Number 2 is Andrew with 66 points, along with Patrick. Again, Patrick would be number 3 because he has 66 points because of the OU one. We go over it every week, but I just want to keep on emphasizing it. He would be 3rd, and be due to the dropped points, it would be Andrew who would get it. Then I'm at number 4. Chad's at number 5. Sarah's at number 6. Frank's at number 7. Kayla's at number 8. Brittany's at number 9. And Kari's at number 10. The thing is, if you look, Justin, we're starting to get into like what I like to call the week 6 gut check. Because once you're kind of past week 6, you're now having teams start to pull away and really define of who has a legitimate shot at like their championship games, the playoff, and the big natty. And then teams who just look like they're just going to go to your little generic bowl games. We're starting to get that now. I think this week it's going to be if Kayla, Brittany, and Kari can't get some points this week, I think it's going to start cutting off at Frank. And then probably next couple weeks, can any of these couple ones, probably in the top 5, top 6 even, I'd include Sarah on that one, falter enough? Because it's been Patrick this entire time, and then Gavin's snuck in this week. Can he keep that streak going? Who knows? Who knows? Also going in, looking at, this is the last one for this one. I'm going to show kind of the spreads and stuff for points, because the big thing with the points, and I was talking to Frank about it on Sunday, was, there we go, is there each week doesn't have the same amount of games. So it's not like 25 points every single week. Each week only has a selected amount of like Big 12 games and ranked games. So it's important to get those big points as you can earlier in the season, because who knows what the rest of these are going to look like. And as you can see, everyone's dropped like roughly week 5 because it was so low in week 1. I've dropped I'm tied. You could take week 1 or week 4. But if you take a look at it, they're slowly starting to weed out on it. Like, looking at Chad, for example, he dropped a 5er. That's killer later on at this point. He still has that one, but then look at Kari. She's got to play out. She has the potential to still make it up there, but she can't miss a game every single week. She'll have to do some research on it. So, but that's kind of the standings right now. We got some good ones this week. I don't think there's going to be too much change. I think that Iowa-Penn State game is going to be the big decider, though, for our Pick'em group. So I'm going to exit out of these really fast to give us some more room. All right. Justin, now 32 minutes in, we'll talk about NFL, I guess. You said it was a boring week. It was a boring week. You know why? Because the most exciting thing was Urban Meyer putting on an Ohio State T-shirt after telling the team, y'all go back to Jacksonville, I'll meet you there, and then getting caught with his hand grabbing a young lady's butt, and he's in trouble. The question is Urban Meyer gone by the middle of the season?
I already felt that way before this shit. Excuse my language, I already thought that way before this shit, but it just escalates it. Oh, absolutely. Well, and, you know, the joke was, well, time for his heart attack so he can go over to USC at this point. Here's the excuse for it. But all the jokes aside at this point, I don't know, unless they just don't want to pay the money out. But then again, the owner of Jacksonville's rich. Like, he's really, really, really rich. Maybe they just want to stick with Urban and ride through it, but he doesn't have the players on his side. I mean, yeah. Colin has the money. He'll be fine. Yeah, but he doesn't have the team on his side. But it sounds like they want to keep Urban Meyer. And I don't know if you stick with that at that point. Like I said, it was the most exciting thing all week. And I don't think anybody tried to, as far as I'm aware, tried to say, oh, it wasn't Urban Meyer. Or I think everyone was like, yeah, it's Urban Meyer. It really sucks, you know, too, when you have such a talented coach who won it, and just see kind of what, excuse my language, he's a sleazeball. Because you remember what he did at Florida, right? I think so. What exactly did he do again? He let his players run wild, and in 1 year, he had 29 players arrested. Oh, right. Like, that should have been the early signs that something was up. And I think I heard the rumor once that with Urban Meyer that his wife caught him cheating on her, and she gave him the ultimatum of you leave Florida or she divorces him. That is what I've always heard. Now,
who knows? Rumors are rumors, but he hasn't done anything to prove anything else at this point. Well, he needs help. That's all I will say on it. But will he stay by the middle of the season? I don't know. Because it's also, the flip side of it is like, yeah, they could keep him. But besides the players, like, is the fan base going to get behind that? And I don't know. I really don't. So.
And he was at Ohio State for a minute, right?
Yeah, he won a natty there.
He won natty there. What is it with the Ohio State get called for the coaches between him and Jim Tressel?
That's a good question. It's just, that's why as much as there were some problems and a realization I had with Stoops, like we weren't going to win a natty under him again. And the reason why is not because he was a bad coach. It was he never wanted to recruit anymore. Recruiting is its own monster, and it's for some coaches, it's just not fun anymore. I'm glad he got to leave on his terms. It wasn't a scandal. It wasn't a crime. It was, I just want to retire and just enjoy life at this point. I don't want to be like my dad and have a heart attack on the sidelines. I give kudos to that versus, say, Urban Meyer. Even Barry Switzer. Barry Switzer was forced to, what's it called? Barry Switzer was forced to leave because of the Charles Thompson stuff. So I'm glad they were able to do that versus Urban Meyer. So anyway, you said, though, Urban Meyer aside, Urban Meyer controversy aside, Urban Meyer and his bar hopping aside, you said the NFL was a boring week this week. Any highlights?
Well, I wasn't able to watch too much of it, but let me look at the score, see if I remember. Well, I will say that the Patriots made the game against the Buccaneers a lot closer than I expected. And there are things that just stuck out to me, like that, and the Cardinals beating the Braves off the Rams the way that they did.
Again. I said this, and I was never a fan of Cliff, or as we called him at Sooner Nation, Coach Bro at Texas Tech, but man, he can coach Arizona Cardinals. It helps when you have the talent as well, but man, with Kyler, they're going to make a run again. I absolutely believe you got some Arizona Cardinals. They're going to make a run.
And goody, I got to go against them in fantasy this week.
Well, speaking of fantasy, let's bring up the results from last week. So,
do we have to? That's
Go ahead. Have to. But it's okay. It's okay, Justin, because you didn't have necessarily the worst game. Think of it that way. So, the big thing from last week is we almost had a rearrangement again of like the top and the bottom of the league at this point. There's some teams like Frank who finally got a win. There are some teams that finally got their first loss, like Sarah. Overall, it seems like we're like at week 2 again at this point, where everybody still has a chance, and then there's some like Andrew, Sarah, and Tyler. It's like, all right, what order are they going to be in the playoff at this point? But if you take a look at it, let's take a look. Let's start with mine. I was able to beat Chad 105-36 to 97-32 because I had a late game surge with Samuel at San Francisco against Seattle. That was the only true reason, in my opinion, I won outside of Cook for Chad. I think he got injured with an ankle sprain. And why are you laughing?
So you're basically telling me you basically won that game because of that one bad miscommunication by Seattle that let Debo Samuel wide open. I give him so much crap for that miscommunication. What was that?
I think so, Justin. Because if you take that score away, I lose. Yeah, I think so. Justin's like, I'm done. That's game. Let's go. But if you take a look at it too, like me and him were neck and neck. Like I bounced ahead, but it got close. It got very close because Sunday night, 80-72 to 105-36. He bounced up to 97 because he still had Cook. No, he had his wide receiver and he had his tight end. And Chad's tight end didn't do that bad. He got 13 points. 13 points against Las Vegas. So, yeah, that was kind of it. it was a close game. It was an absolute close game.
Only 4.4 points from Dalvin Cook. Then again, I didn't get big Thielen either.
Yeah, that was the thing is Chad's the players that he needed to really step up. I will never draft Keenan Allen. I've never seemed like I've had good luck with him, and it seems like it's here where I always seem like Keenan's just a high risk, high reward type of player at this point, and just shows with it that 3.6 just to me killed him at that point. Same thing with Cook. Cook needed those points, and he just did not show up. Sure, you had some of the other players like way more than they were predicted to, but he needed them to do their minimum because they're the hit star players. Moving on to Andrew and Sarah. Game of the week. Andrew blew Sarah out of the water. And the thing is, Sarah min-maxed out. She didn't have a whole lot of points left. But when you have a combination of Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry, and Eckler, my God, that's 60 points right there. No, I'm sorry. That's well over 70 points. Jalen put on I'm not going to say, not Jalen. I think it was Eckler. Put on like a clinic against Las Vegas. Touchdowns, rushing, oh my gosh. So many wonderful points that I wish I had. Derrick Henry, goal line. He made a risk on that take, and he got him. And then Jalen Hurts, even though they lost to Kansas City, he still scored a lot of points. Sarah just finally had her first weekend of bad luck. New Orleans didn't do anything on defense. Tom Brady had he won, but it was a very so-so performance from him at this point. No touchdowns. That's kind of the surprising part. And then her running back was Swift. Yeah, she dropped the ball on it, and if you take a look at their recap with it, once Andrew took off Sunday morning, it was off to the races, and it got even worse by Monday. So it just happens. That's just part of the game. It sucks, but yeah. So yeah, Andrew kicked butt. Andrew's the hot team right now that I would not want to face. Justin, let's take a look at your game. How do you, in a sense of it, you weren't Josh Prime's first win. That's the good part, because he was winless for a little bit. But where did you go wrong this week, Justin? Who do you think could have performed much better? Are you disappointed in Chubb's performance right now since you took him in the
I kind of took a risk in drafting him because, well, not really, because I didn't expect for Kareem Hunt to look like his old self again. It's like he's back in Kansas City. But
yeah.
Let's see. Only getting 4.6 points from Thielen really hurt me. Honestly, Emmanuel Sanders, that's about how many points I thought I was going to get. Let's see. I only got 4 points from Kittle.
Getting points from a tight end is still impressive.
Jesus, it would have been a whole lot worse if I didn't get 23 points from Buffalo's defense.
Yeah. Now, the flip side of it, though, Justin, is even though you would have lost to him regardless for it, he now is missing Montgomery, and that's a big component, a part of his offense with it. Montgomery being out is kind of a big deal, but it's looked like Barkley. I thought about Barkley for a minute, passed on it, and maybe I should have jumped on Barkley. New Orleans' defense is pretty bad, but he's put up some big numbers the past 2 weeks. Maybe I should have jumped on Barkley.
Yeah, it was just a combination of who he had, so it didn't really matter what I did. This is one of those.
Yeah. It was just a perfect combination. And looking at, I think it was...
He had the most points out of anybody in the league.
Yeah, by Sunday already, it was just off to the races at that point. So there's no shame in losing. No shame in losing at all. That's just one of those, there's no avoiding. It is what it is. Another review of another game was Kayla versus Gavin. A very, very close game because not only did they both underperform, if there was just like one change, the other player would have lost. I feel bad for Gavin because 36 points from Tyreek Hill, and he still lost. 36 points. How ridiculous is that, you know?
Yeah, like 36 points and he lost.
36 points.
He wasn't getting crap from anybody else.
Absolutely. And then taking a look for Kayla, Ezekiel actually had a really decent game. I feel like Ezekiel's hi Frank, I'm glad that Frank was able to join in. Ezekiel, I feel like really dropped off after a couple years ago. After like I had him, I was like, I don't trust Dallas's line anymore. Like, if I have to get somebody in the first round and that's all there is, I will take him over not take him because he's still guaranteed points. But I feel like his best days are starting to get behind him at this point. So, thoughts on it? Well, I also look at, I think Gavin could have won if Gold actually had a field goal. He got on IR. I don't know why he got on IR, and I don't know if he had any other kickers with it, but Gavin had the potential to win. He was just a point off. So, Frank, we'll be getting to your game here in just a moment because I'm going to definitely highlight that one. But I got a message earlier in the week, Justin, from Brittany that said she's afraid she's going to lose on Mean Girls Day. And she lost on Mean Girls Day. She lost to Patrick 113-52 to 99-82. And this was also one, like, Patrick put up a very solid performance. Aaron Rodgers looked in form for the first time, in my opinion, all season. I think this is the first time he broke 20. Yeah. No, I'm wrong. Week 2, he broke 20. It was just that very, very first week he crapped out. I think Brittany drafting Patrick Mahomes, I think that's hurting her. That week 1 where she had to wait a little bit to get some other players, I think that it hurt her, and it's just she's just behind getting on it. I don't know though. I don't know. She's 1-3. There's more than enough football to play, but if you take a look, like, there's nothing else I don't think she could have done. She could have swapped some players out, but even then, maybe put Kareem Hunt in. But how many points is she going to get from that realistically? 10 more? It still wouldn't have beat Patrick. So, but that's not the exciting game. The one that cracks me up, Justin. So you laughed at my game. .82. .82, Justin, that Frank beat Tyler.
Do you believe in miracles?
Oh my goodness. So get this. I had to really break down the stats for it because I had to highlight it because I also know Frank is watching. So get this, okay? If nines does not go negative, Tyler wins. Because he had one player dip into the negatives. It was that one player. Seriously, one player. He would have won. Even break him at 0 points. He would have won. Do you know that it makes you laugh for mine? That one's even worse. Because to me, I'm like, okay, it sucks being the person that gets blown out. That always sucks, but at least where it's like, okay, I got blown out 40 points. There was no way I was going to win. Those are worse. The heartbreakers are worse because it's like, oh, that sucks. The really heartbreaker ones when it's like this close, like 0.5, 0.10. Oh, if it was just momentum another way. It's these type of games where it's like a player went negative or the quarterback need and caused them to lose yardage to lose the game. These are the games that are like the heartbreakers, the worst ones to lose. Oh, negative 0.9. It's why he won. Amazing. That's Lady Luck, Justin. That is Lady Luck. What's your thoughts on this game? Ignoring the fact that it was 74 points. We'll ignore that fact entirely.
I guess.
It sounds like you've got nothing.
Would you like to send an error report?
What?
Would you like to send an error report?
Yeah.
People always send those.
Oh, man. I see, and I have to take a look. I have to see. What's funny is Tyler led the entire weekend until Monday night. That was where he lost, was Monday Night Football. Oh, by one. Almost a point. It's still funny. I'm not gonna let Tyler live that down as much as Frank's not gonna let me live it down for when we played Halo Infinite. So side squirrel moment, Justin. Me and Frank were playing Halo Infinite this weekend, and we got an early capture the flag. Okay, we got an early flag, and we were driving back with the Warthog. I was driving. So is it a bad time, Justin, for me to tell you that I hadn't driven any vehicles yet? So they changed the mechanics on how the Warthog works. It doesn't feel like actually driving on the ground. It feels like it's ice. So when I made a turn, I couldn't drift. We fell off, and we lost the flag. I was like, my bad. Oops. We still won. But definitely something I'll send to you because you're going to laugh your butt off on it. Even my coworkers who don't play video games, they went, Josh, that was really bad. I'm like, I'm just embracing my inner OU self, making it much closer than it probably should have been. So anyway, let's take a quick look at the standings at the moment, where everyone is, and then we'll go to weekly awards. So, the Evil Villains of Slimmin' Pod. this is a decent pod. Everyone has a chance to win the division at this point. And if you had a guess at this moment, Justin, I think this is the toughest pod at the moment because Frank, if Frank has the luck and he could win out, in theory, all three of them could get in because based on their points and their win-loss record alone. Imagine that. Imagine number 12 getting in into the playoff because he won the division because you automatically get in. It's possible. There's more than enough footballs. But you can also see he's made the most moves and everything. Everybody else, like, I haven't even made it. I've made, like, 2. But he has definitely made the most. He's definitely playing the waiver wire at this point. It's going to pay off. This is a pod to watch with it because you would think Sarah would have taken the early lead, but Tyler's also there too.
Well, he and I are the only ones who have made double-digit moves.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the big pod to watch. Let's go to yours as well, Hydra League. Right now, surprisingly, despite him being low in the beginning, Joshua Prime, he is 2-0 in y'all's pod. I think he has a good chance to win out at this point, but again, it's still too early for it because y'all still got to play each other, you and Chad, and that will give us kind of the brief overview of who the leaders are at this point for that. Doesn't seem as much clear cut as the top one with this point. Moving on, the same thing with Andrew. He's 1-0. Him and Patrick on a collision to face each other. I think it's this week for it. And then Brittany's got to figure something out because she's already behind 2 in the division at this point. It's not over, but she's got to figure something out. And then same thing with the Evil League of Evil. Kayla's ahead in my pod right now, and Gavin and I face each other this week. It's going to be very close, but it's also going to give us a overview of who is running for that division one. And the only hope at that point will be for me to make some moves or something like that. So this week we've got me versus Gavin. Gavin right now is favored by 103.28 to my 96.48. I got to sit down and do some pod work and see like if I need to move some players around, drop in, add some players. Andrew versus Patrick. That's going to be a good one. Number 1 versus number 6. And it's going to give us, again, who's going to be the leader in their division at this point, or if it's going to be a fight all the way to week, I think it's 13 we have. Justin, you face Chad. Same thing. That's going to give y'all a better look at y'all's division. Joshua Prime faces Frank. That's going to be an interesting one, too, which is funny because we said if they would have lost, it would have been the tale of 2 winless teams looking for their first win. But they were able to bounce back in the past couple weeks, so it's just a very, very standard close game. And then we also have the big one is Sarah versus Tyler. Not only does this game like have more implications for their pod, but also this is like a free points game essentially for them. They're not going to lose too much if one of them loses to each other because they still have not only do they have to face the rest of the other league at this point with it, they're still one of the top 2. So they don't have to face the division part with it. So it's interesting. It's interesting what we got to look at. But going back to week 4, are you ready for these weekly awards, Justin?
Sure.
Are you ready for the weekly awards, or are you ready for I'm ready to see where I got the weekly award at? If I can.
Knowing me, it's probably gonna be something comical.
Oh, that's funny. Let me find where I put the weekly awards at. I had my file. Here we go. All right. So, let's start with our generic standard one. We're going to start with, cancel. This is document 11. Okay. We're going to start with the winner chicken dinner, which was the game of the week last week. It was Kylo Ren versus the Green Goblins. And we all know how that went with it because not only did Sarah lose to Kylo Ren, that was like the biggest blowout of the game this week. So congratulations to Andrew for winning the big game of the week this week. It really gave a look like who's taking an early lead in their pod. Andrew, like I said, I don't think I face Andrew, but I think you do, Justin. I think you do. I'm curious. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at his schedule. You face him in week 12. Oh gosh, I face him in week 7. Let's hope that Andrew has cooled off a little bit before I face him because I will get obliterated by that time. And then you face him in week 12. You have a long ways to go. Maybe he'll have mercy. Maybe he'll have mercy on us poor souls. Probably not, but next one is the Juggernaut. This one should not be surprising either because based on Justin, you mentioned it earlier, having the most points with it. The Juggernaut for week 4 and breaks Andrew's 2-game streak is the lidless eye with Joshua Prime with 132.42 points. Again, not the highest one we've had so far. I think the highest still was 156. But, Justin, I feel bad that you were the recipient of Josh, like, just taking his anger out. But, hey, if there's a way to lose, at least that was, like, the one way to lose was lose to the one that's the big blowout. So the next week one is the Coach of the Week award. The Coach of the Week, again, is the ones that won a game that they weren't supposed to. So because we had 2 winners for it, I'm going to take each one individually so everyone's highlighted. The first one is me. I was a Coach of the Week. I was predicted to lose to Chad, 105.85 to 107.44, and I ended up winning. I got very close to my predicted score with 105.36, and Chad underperformed with it. As you said, the only reason, though, I won was because of that lucky play. So let's be honest. But, hey, I will take it. I'll take it. That's what the Coach of the Week award is. Now, the other one with it was, I believe, yeah, here we go. The other one was, unfortunately, Justin, you're on the sad part of these ones this week. The other one who had it was Joshua Prime. He was predicted to lose 103 to 104, and he basically took the points that you needed to win, and he added it to his total, the 132.42 versus 86.70. So congrats to the Coaches of the Week. Y'all did really, really well on it. You made the right moves. Or you got lucky. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with luck. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. There is one more Coach of the Week. There's one more Coach of the Week, Justin. The other Coach of the Week is Patrick in social media. He was predicted to lose 106.78 to 108.40, and he won 113.52 to 99.82 against Brittany. So congratulations to Patrick, Joshua Prime, and myself for this week for Coach of the Week. Again, a lot of it, some of it's skill, some of it's luck, and some of it's just like what you're watching and waiting for that. So next one is the Week 4 Belichick Award. Again, that is overscoring your points. And usually it goes hand in hand with the Juggernaut. So the Week 4 Belichick is the lidless eye with Joshua Prime with scoring above 29.42 of his predicted points. So again, congratulations to Joshua. He seems to be the one this week that had the running rampant, take all the big offensive awards this week. The underachiever this week, who got one, and it's going to make him laugh always with it, is actually Frank. Frank was the underachiever. He won a game, and he was the lowest scoring game where he scored under his projected points, the highest one, and he still won. He scored 25.86 under his projection, and he still won. Again, by pure luck. But hey, as we've learned with OU this week, and the past week, and the week before, a win's a win, and I'll take an ugly win over a loss. So, because at the flip side of it, look at Tyler. 0.888, I think it was, 0.88. Regardless. What do you think of the first couple awards, Justin? Anything that stands out to you?
Apparently it was the week of a few upsets. I don't really get why I was favored in my game.
You were probably favored because of, if we took a look at your game, I'm assuming it was quarterback play, and it was probably Chubb. That's my guess. I mean, he underperformed with it. But if you take a look at Josh on the flip side, though, D. Moore, he got almost double his points at this point. Montgomery, he scored double his points, and Barkley scored double. Like, they scored much more, and same thing with Baltimore. Baltimore's defense, he had the best defense of the league. So, next one up is the Week 4 game changer with Andrew, with Jalen Hurts at quarterback at this point. He was the highest scoring player in a win this week with it. Despite him losing the game against his opponent, he was the highest scoring player in wins. So, I'm actually surprised that Jalen actually got one this week. As much as I criticized Jalen with OU and how he just couldn't throw the ball, and he was mostly responsible for a lot of our interceptions, Justin, he's done really well in the NFL. I give him a lot of credit, and I'm happy to say, I'm very happy that things are working out for him. So the flip side of this award is the player that probably should have been the game changer, but he was on the losing team. And surprisingly, it's not Patrick Mahomes. The Week 4 play with heart is Riddler Voldemort's Tyreek Hill, 36.60 points. That's the other games I hate to lose, Justin. Is I have a player who scores out of his mind, up, and I end up losing because the rest of the team didn't hold their weight. That's the worst. Any surprise on those with Jalen and Tyreek Hill being on the flip side of each other, on the opposite sides?
No, not really.
Gotcha. This is a surprising one. This is the first one where we've actually seen this. So the week 4 crash and burn is Sarah. She was running first for a couple weeks, and she finally crashed at 62.46 points. It happens, and we would expect more coming up here very, very, very soon with what do you call them, Justin? With bye weeks starting to come up. That's going to change everything with it. But unfortunately, she was like me. She's been a victim of the early season crash and burns. They're the worst. That's the one award I always try to avoid is the crash and burn. I'm like, I'd rather just be 0.1 over so I'm not dead last. But it's not an if, it's just a win. It will happen. It will happen. The next award is the big thing with all these awards I noticed this week, there's a lot of variety versus where it's been mostly Andrew, Sarah, and then with all due respect, with Frank getting a lot of the ones since he's lost a lot of his games, a lot of the loser ones at that point with it. So like the replacements or the crash and burns, things like that. But like this week, put me in coach. Kayla had C. Patterson, the running back, at 29.60 on her bench on it. That's the worst too, is leaving players who have like the huge point ones on the bench. Justin, at this point, I legitimately just want to send you a bench at this point. Because the week 4, you still own it for like the 3rd week in a row is your bench. You had the highest scoring bench at 68.08 points. I don't think you like this award at this point. I think you're ready to change the award out. Am I right or am I wrong? That's a yes. That's a yes. All right, next one up, guys, is a win is a win. Again, that one is you win, but got outscored by most of the league. It's not surprising that basically that one went to Frank. He won. He won 74.90 points, but everybody except one person I think it was 2 people, outscored him on the league. So congratulations to Frank. Luck comes in handy at some point, and the luck definitely favored you. Let's see. Next award is the route. Not surprising on this one. I usually would expect Sarah, Andrew, and Tyler for this week. So the week 4 route goes to Andrew. He routed Sarah 62.46 points. The blowout, essentially. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that it wasn't you, Justin. But yeah, it was against the Green Goblins. It was the route. So, the route was not 62.46 points. I need to scroll down. It was 47.92 points for it. I'm surprised it wasn't against you and Joshua Prime, but hey, don't want to be on the other one. Again, it's not the biggest one we've ever had in the league, but the week 4 Hail Mary goes to Frank, who beat Tyler by 0.89 points. That's still ridiculous. Or it's supposed to be 0.88 points. That's still ridiculous to me. 0.88. That's 1 yard. That's 1 point. Gosh, pure luck. I love it. This is why I love fantasy. I love games like these. Any thoughts so far, Justin, from those sets of awards? Anything that sticks out to you?
One thing that sticks out to me is think about how pissed somebody would be if they lost like that and they're actually playing for money. See, I'd be playing way more serious if it was for money. Oh my goodness, you bring up a good point. And it was funny because I talked to Tyler Monday. I think it was Monday. It was Monday. And he's like, I don't know if I'm going to win. I'm like, oh, Tyler, you're going to win. And he had that, yeah. Speaking of that, the week 4 participation trophy, we had none this week. No participation trophy. Nobody lost their game and was scored 3/4 over the league. So the next one is the goose egg, which no one should be surprised. If Frank won the Lucky Award, the goose egg went to Tyler and the Borg because of that running back. That is the true textbook Goose Egg Award. I really want to change the name to make that the N. Hines Memorial Goose Egg Award.
Oh my gosh, I can't get over that. I can't. Like, I can laugh at mine against Chad now with context from what you told me. I just cannot get over. Oh my gosh. Even if he got 0 points. Anyway. The next one up is the Week 4 Bad Luck Chuck Award. Goes to, like I mentioned to you, she was scared that she was going to lose on Mean Girls Day, and she did. It goes to Brittany, and she could have beaten 7 other teams this week with her points, but she unfortunately did not. That's what happens. It's okay. That just means she could have lost to the rest of the league. That's okay. Next up is Lady Luck. I think it's only fitting that if he had a win is a win and he had the luck of it, I'm not surprised that Frank is the Lady Luck winner for this week. Would have lost to 9 other teams this week, but somehow or another he managed to win against Tyler. So congratulations, Frank. Luck was definitely with you this week. In my opinion, you had the royal flush at that point. The Week 4 Crisis Averted also goes to, this is why I think this game was just so funny, also goes to Frank, Justin, because if he would have started hit that running back from LA, he would have lost because from the roughly the same amount because he would have lost. The storyline for this one. This is like, I want to change, like I said, the goose egg to everything to just like, this player, this game. We need to call the rivalry game at this point. Like there's OU Texas, Army Navy, Washington and Dallas, and then there's Frank and Tyler. Oh my goodness, I have to check some. I think Frank and Tyler. Yeah, Frank and Tyler are in the same division. We could have this again later in the season. Do you know how awesome that would be to have all 3 games like that? It would be awesome because it's not me and you, Justin. Couple awards left. The depth chart goes to Miracle Muffin. She had 67.22 points left on the bench for all the teams that won. And then finally, let me bring up the final award because I didn't see any what's it called? I did not see any bench teams that would have beaten the team regardless for it. But the final one is the Min-Max Award. The Min-Max Award also goes to get how close it was. It went to Frank at 17.36.
Wow, Frank's cleaned up tonight.
He cleaned up tonight, but you have to imagine all that luck. He maxed out his bench. He had avoided the disaster with Mikkel. Opponent had 0.9. Truly, like, I really want to change the Lady Luck Award to the Frank Memorial Award at this point, the Frank Royal Flush Award. It's pure luck, but he ran away with it tonight with the Luck Awards with it because of that. Hey, like I said, though, an ugly win's a good win. I will always take an ugly win. So that's all the awards this week, though. So let's take a look at what the power rankings and everything look like right now. Bring up the next set. If I was Frank, I'd be laughing from last week. I would absolutely be in stitches on it. Let's bring up while I'm bringing this up, Justin, final thoughts on week awards this week? Anything else that makes you laugh? Anything from this week's matches?
Yeah, that was what makes me laugh. That Frank cleaned up. It was surprised such a low score with a W. But hey, it wins a week, right?
A win's a win, exactly. Let's see. It's loading, Justin. It's just taking a while. There we go. We don't have anybody, by the way, this week that we're interviewing. I honestly forgot to reach out to the person that I had scheduled. That's why it's just you and me tonight, but we'll get back to that next week where we'll bring on our one of our managers and stuff, which is okay because this has been already a long one with how much we've talked about. So here we go. All right. Bring up the share screen. So much sharing. Sharing is caring, but there we go. All right. Let's take a look at what the projected standings right now for the playoff. Right now, Andrew, Kayla, Sarah, and Tyler are expected to get into the playoff. If it was today, no one should be surprised by this. They're the ones that have kind of been the leaders in the scoring at this point. Because I won against Chad this week, it changed my projection up where I am now projected with a 52% odd to make it to the playoff. And then Patrick is still at the same one. He has a 46% chance. But Justin, you're still on that borderline. You are still on that borderline right there of that number 6 spot. Anything could happen at this point. Funny enough, even though Josh won this week and he's like one of the better ones in his pod with it, he's only 7 and he's not projected to make it. That's a funny one. Chad still lower. Frank moved up too. Frank slowly moving up as well. Brittany fell, and then Gavin fell a whole lot from that with the 25. Again, there are still chances. We're only done with the first roughly fourth of the season, or the first third of the season. There is still time. There is still 9 weeks of football to play. But now, if people have the time to change it, now is the time to make those changes. Now is the time to start playing those waiver wires. Injury is still a big deal. COVID is still around enough where it's impacting people. Bye weeks are coming up. Weather is going to be a factor. Like, now is the time to make the changes if they need the changes. And that's with the 16. Now, let's take a look at the power rankings for Week 5. Power rankings. Andrew, number 1. Kayla, number 2. Chad, number 3. Frank, number 4. Brittany, number 5. Joshua Prime, number 6. Patrick, number 7. Justin, number 8. Me, number 9. Gavin, number 10. Sarah, number 11, and Tyler, number 12. I'm still trying to figure out this particular one. I don't know if this is for this, moving on from last week to this week, like how people performed, or if it's the up and coming one, like who all, like what positions and everything. I think I performed pretty well, but apparently I did not perform what it was. So I'm still actually figuring this out, but that's what the power rankings are right now at this point. Let's also now take a look at the rest of the rest of the season. This is how the rest of the season is lining up at this point. Like I said, there's more there's more than enough time to play, but we'll also see like where Chad was at the bottom. They still have him as the most with potential points left on the board. Andrew, number 2, Kayla, Frank, like you're seeing still like where late season strides are starting to come into play at this point. Because again, we have 9 weeks. We have 9 more weeks of this, but again, anything possible. And that's 9 weeks of the regular season. That's not playoffs as well. I think projected standings, we still have that as well. I'm going to move back to the other one, Justin, really fast to show the one with Yahoo, and then we'll do a wrap-up. Share screen. There we go. Okay. So right now, if we had the current standings, we all have number 1, same thing. It's Andrew, number 2, Sarah, number 3 is Kayla, number 4 is Tyler. We already know that. Number 5 is Joshua Prime at the moment, and then number 6 is Patrick. The only ones that really have swap places was me and Joshua Prime at that point, and that's just based on points. He has about 22 more points than I do, but again, based on it, who knows on it. The rest is kind of the same order at this point with it. If we look at the current projections, though, based on Yahoo, number 1 is saying Patrick is going to win the division, and he's going to end up number 1. Number 2, Tyler. Number 3, Andrew. Number 4, Chad. Number 5, Kayla. And then number 6, Sarah. With number 7, the first man out would be me, and then Gavin. Number 9, if I can find it, is Prime. Number 10, Frank. Number 11, Brittany. Number 12, you, Justin. 2 different ones. We don't have a large enough sample size at this point to decide who. But there's a lot of games to be played at this point. There's a lot of games still got to be played, and I think we have the last one with power rankings. Yeah, power rankings still with the power rankings. I still have potential to be number 5 on it, just like you still have potential to be like number 10. Who knows? Who knows with it? Right now, any final thoughts from Week 4, Justin, going into Week 5? Any upcoming games at this point?
Upcoming games, you said?
Any upcoming games? Yes, sir. You're my NFL expert. I'm going to bring back to the Week 5.
I know fantasy is going to suck for me this week because I had to choose with quarterback play. I had to either choose to get Matt Stafford at Seattle or Justin Herbert against that Cleveland defense. So it's going to be easy for me. I'm already projected.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So
maybe I'll be closer to weed this week. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, as we've seen with Frank's matches, my match, a lot of the other ones, it could be a blowout, it could be extremely close. I mean, you're only down by 7 points against Chad, what's predicted, but I beat Chad by 8 points last week, so it's possible. It's possible. Any games that look good besides that, though? Any exciting ones? Is this a boring NFL slate this week too?
Oh well, Bills and Chiefs is good.
Bills and Chiefs, yeah. The Bills have a good defense. I think who did you face last week, Justin? Joshua Prime? Yeah, him against Frank. He has that defense. So I don't know. Now, Justin, taking a look. I'm going to let you decide this week. Justin, taking a look at the 6 matches that we've got. What do you think should be the game of the week this week? Because me versus Gavin is going to, let me bring up the current standing. Me versus Gavin won't determine anything in the league. It's not going to really determine if we're going to take a lead in the pod. Andrew versus Patrick. They're both 1-1. This will determine who takes an early lead in the pod, and probably if Patrick will stay in the top 6 or not. You versus Chad in your division. It's like ours. It's not going to determine who's going to be the winner or who's going to take the early lead in the pod. Joshua Prime's going to take that right now. Kayla versus Brittany. Let's see. Kayla, that's an out-of-conference game. That's just going to determine it's a 3-1 to a 1 versus 3. Joshua Prime versus Frank. Let's see. Joshua Prime versus Frank. It's not going to affect division outcome, and if anything, it will be like a 2-1 with it. And then you got the highest ranked one is Sarah versus Tyler. So I think it boils down to, Justin, Andrew versus Patrick or Sarah versus Tyler. The only one caveat would be it's either going to determine Sarah's going to be a leader in their pod at this point, or it's going to be a complete 1-1-1 pod at that point. So, leaving it to you this week, what do you think the game of the week should be?
Bills Chiefs.
I mean in our fantasy. Who do we pick as the fantasy game of the week?
Maybe because of personal preference, I'd probably say you versus Gavin.
No, I wouldn't say mine. I don't think I have any league implications for that. I don't think there's nothing for mine right now. What do you think between Andrew and Patrick and Sarah versus Tyler? Which one?
I guess I'll say Goblins versus the board.
Okay. So Sarah versus Tyler. So that is your week 5 game of the week. It's going to be Sarah versus Tyler, and their outcome is going to be determined if it's going to be Sarah that takes a 2-0 division lead at the beginning, or if it's going to be a complete tie going into the second third of the season for it. The other one that we could have picked too was Andrew versus Patrick, because that would have determined like if Patrick is booted out of the the division stuff, not out of the league. I have to watch my wording. That's not what I mean. Booted out of like the top 6 at this point for the playoff with it. And also who would get that early lead as well. But I agree with you, Justin. I think Sarah versus Tyler, it has more implications on that. So, any final thoughts on this week? Anything you're looking forward to the next week before we wrap up?
No thoughts here.
I've got no thoughts here. By this time next week, you're either going to have a happy Sooner or you're going to have a very, very sunburned, depressed Sooner. They're going to be 50-50. Hopefully it's a happy one. And by this time next week, you just go, hey, how was the game? I'll tell you, I'm sweating grease. That's what I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. That's what I hope. That means I had a lot of fried food. Maybe next week we'll discuss all the fried food that I'm going to have had at the State Fair at this point. Do you have a recommendation for me to get at the State Fair, Texas? Any fried food? Any generic one you can think of?
I'm sure they have probably deep fried Oreos at some point, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. I'll look for some deep fried Oreos then, just for you. I'm going to look for them and try to get them.
Either that or a fried candy bar.
Oh, fried Snickers, fried Twinkies, fried Coke.
Fried Snicker.
Okay, I will look for a fried Snicker then. My usual go-to is a caramel apple, a funnel cake, and a Belgian waffle due to Sean. I will add a fried Snicker to my list because I'm going to be trying some of the other food and stuff as well.
I was going to say funnel cake, but I figured that was probably going to be on your list anyway.
Yeah, funnel cake's always my go-to. I love funnel cake. I'm going to come back and you'll be like, Josh, how did you gain 30 pounds over the weekend? Well, I take the back. It's not going to be it's going to be, Like, that's going to be me. Oh, yeah, Frank. Yep, turkey leg, funnel cake. I'm going to look for a turkey leg for you. I'm going to look for one as well if I can find one.
I was a judge. I like, maybe it's just me, but you look like you have a little bit of death going on.
Oh, no.
Death going on.
I got a funny one for you, Justin, then we'll wrap up. On the way back, after I saw you, I saw some friends in Little Rock, and we were walking around the park just for, giving me like an hour just to rest my legs and stuff, because I still had 7 hours from Memphis all the way to Oklahoma City. And I got out, and so when we were walking around having some ice cream, we saw a squirrel, my dude, and I kid you not, he was huffing and puffing, like walking up to us, like, hey guys, you got an acorn? Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, squirrel, are you okay? Like, do we need to get an IV for you? Like, I don't know if he was going to survive or not, or he was huffing and puffing because he was threatening us with, like, give me some acorns. Like, he was an obese squirrel, my dude. Like, obese. I think he could have rolled and it would have been funny. So that's just me. That's going to be me, though, next week. Josh, why are you huffing and puffing? The food was worth it. The wait wasn't. So, anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up.
I'm about to say, like, hey, why is that squirrel panting? Because it's allergic to nuts.
Hey, that's a good point to stop. That's a good one. Justin, thank you for joining me again. It's always fun doing the Week 4 NFL recaps with you, going into our week in review. Week in review from the NFL. It's always fun getting that stuff, as well as getting the insight from you, which makes our fantasy league really, really more exciting. And thanks for humoring me with the college football as well, as usual. Same time, same place next week.
Indeed.
All right, buddy. I'm going to let you go. You have a good weekend. Good luck to everybody in their fantasy football this week. Make sure to pay attention to it. Set your lineups on Thursday night's games. I got nothing else, so I hope everyone has a good night.